So what you just heard is Interval by Piotr Kurek. So he's a Polish composer, and I believe this album is really a collection of his music that he has composed for specifically theatre in China, specifically in Shanghai and Beijing. So it features contributions from classical and experimental musicians from China and Poland. And it was released this year. The album is called A Sacrifice Shall Be Made, All the Wicked Scenes. Released on an incredible label called Mondoch, and we should actually do a feature on them soon, but this is one of their many great releases. Basically, this album is recorded across several years as he collects like sounds and adds it to his personal archives over the years. And he also does like samples from like the internet, and it's not like there's like Asian elements obviously, right? But he tries to go against it, which is quite interesting. I think it's a bit hard to describe with that song, but I really recommend hearing the whole album. There's a few songs that I wanted to play, but then they were a bit too long for the podcast. But I highly recommend it. But yeah, welcome back, guys, to our last show
of the year.
Yeah. So who do we have here today, Jasmine?
Today we have a special guest. Hello, George.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
My name is George. I do electronic music, and I also work with body movement, and I kind of like was arrested from involving myself in art projects and stuff. But recently I've been doing work again. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
It's the chillest show in town.
Thanks. Yeah, we see you on Twitch every time our show airs. So thanks. It's an honor.
Yeah.
I mean, George, like we actually invited George last year for our evening Chants show in December. So it's been almost a year actually, which is really quick. It was an incredible show at this weird space. It used to be an art gallery, an art auction house.
Black Mark.
Yeah, I can't remember. Black something. Yeah, but it was a great space. And
Black
it was a great
Earth
show.
or something.
Oh yeah, Black Earth.
Earth, right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
I remember that because it sounds like a Sun O album or something.
Right.
Anyway.
I wouldn't have remembered the name then. But yeah, I guess over the course of this episode we'll be learning more about George and his latest album Smokescreen, which is an incredible album. Yeah. But also this podcast will also be wrapping up the year with our favorite albums from the year. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be released this year. So it's just things that we've been listening to this year as well. But we try to keep it with new releases as much as we can. But yeah. So how has this year been for you, George, so far?
This has been one of those weird years that everyone feel weird together.
Yeah.
You know? Generally speaking, sometimes you like certain years is not so good for you, but everyone else is. Yeah. Or maybe you're having a good year, but someone else is. But this year, everyone can say, like, it's been weird for everyone.
Weird, yeah.
So we can weird out together.
Yeah.
So it's been unusual. Yeah. More than usual.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, and but it's been exciting as well. Yeah. For some of these various things that happened, for myself, having done that album, finally have it released, like we finished it since like 2018, and then during, I think maybe in June or something, Mark Ojikaji suddenly said maybe it's time to release it.
Yeah.
And I said, you sure? And I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and it's a great album, like great packaging, great music video, and you know, like Ujikaji, you and everyone involved, like Sun, all did a great job with the album. You. And I guess we'll learn more about the album throughout this episode as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. How about you, Jasmine? How's your year? I mean, we've been talking about it for the past, but like now that it's like the end of the year, how has it been?
Okay, so I guess I'll say the same thing almost, but more time for myself, which is great. And then when I was reading like a lot of these, when I was going through all these albums, like a lot of it is like like COVID. They released the album because of COVID, you know. A lot of it is like, it's about like having yourself in a room and like trying to like compartmentalize things.
Yeah, just a lot about like isolation and really
Isolate,
the emotions that you get with being yourself as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess we'll share more about our picks, which was actually very difficult to do.
Yeah, it was super difficult. How do you pick your
I don't know.
records?
I went through few options. So like I did, I went through my Spotify, the saved albums, and I scroll.
Yeah.
And then I had a hard time picking because I realized that I think less and less I've been repeat I rarely listen to albums on repeat these days. I think at most I listen to like the album like 4 or 5 times, and then I just like forget about it after a while. But then now when you revisit albums that you save and everything, it's kind of a nice feeling. Like oh yeah, I forgot this album. I forgot I enjoyed this album, and then when you revisit it, it's like the same feeling all over again. Yeah. And then I went through like Bandcamp, my Bandcamp purchases. I went through Boomcat, my street purchases. I was so lazy to freaking like see my vinyl collection. And I was like, ugh, like it's a mess. I need to go and archive, like properly like categorize it. Okay, anyway, enough about me. So George, you have the honor of picking the first track of today, apart from the previous track. But maybe you want to introduce that track and why you picked it.
Okay, the track I picked was like you guys say, it's really hard to pick, and also like this year I've been listening quite a bit of metal as well, but I just don't feel like bringing metal into this show. Try to preserve a certain, not that you guys are such a purist, but try to preserve a certain kind of how to say, quietude.
Nice.
In the midst of it's like a 11 p.m. show,
Yeah, you get it. You totally get it, man.
So I would like to play Francisco Lopez. It's something. It's like some artists that I listen a lot to in the early 2000, and most of his work is very dense, and usually is recordings that a few recordings from forests or natural landscape. And he will create them and create a kind of a drone, for lack of a better word. It's not exactly drone as well, but just a very dense load of sounds. And then sometimes it's really dealing with a lot of silence. But this particular one is interesting because there's some kind of rhythm to it. Yeah. And I brought the vinyl also because it's like a vinyl. There's like it's one of those vinyl that you are not afraid to scratch, because basically the track is full of crackles anyway, so is the sound. And I thought for me, I find this very soothing, because another way of looking at ambient is not just like those ambient washes of sounds, but also the spaces between the notes. And it's very sparse, so I thought this would be a good track to introduce to the audience here.
Nice. Yeah, I think I guess we'll let the record speak for itself. So we're going to listen to an excerpt from side B of this record. Yeah.
Oh, cupcake! Oh, sorry.
So what you just heard is Lara Pramuk's with Witness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually what you just heard, right? Every sound on the album is actually her voice. Yeah. And with the rhythm, the melodies, textures, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I was talking to Nigel about it just now. I guess, what are your thoughts on it, the album?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to it because I think like our label partner, Phantom Lim, George, they actually handled the release as well. It was on our bedroom community who's like their label partner as well. So he was like shilling the album to me. He sent me the demos and shit. And he was like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah, it sounds exciting. And then when the album came out, I think after the first like 5 songs or like 4 songs, it kind of got a bit repetitive after a while. But I do respect her. Her tenacity to kind of experiment with just vocals. The fact that it's just purely vocals, it's not like it hasn't been done before, like like Juliana Barwick and everything. But I think with her it's a bit different in terms of how she uses the vocals.
Yeah.
I think Juliana Barwick is more dreamy. This is dreamy, but it's a bit more edgy.
Yeah.
In a sense.
It's for her to experiment on herself.
Yeah.
Like trying on new things. I guess.
Exactly. But with like Juliana Barwick, it's more like, I think it's like a clearer direction of like, I just want it to sound like an ambient record. But this is more a bit, like, it's just a bit different.
Yeah. I think when I first heard it, I was quite taken aback. I think like it's one of the things that like I kept going back to that time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a nice listen for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So George, it's been over like a decade since you released like any music, like original music, right? So like apart from the reissue from Anomia, which we'll talk about a bit later, like what happened between this past 10 years for you? Like how has it been?
Okay, I kind of after I got married in like 2007, right? It's not that people say like marriage is like a graveyard, right? No. It is totally not about that.
Nice. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
But I just feel like I spent about a decade like full time as an artist, working with music, theater, and sound art and things like that. Just kind of get a bit tired. Not so much about art itself, but just feel I need to take a step back from that careerist mindset of trying to pursue an art career, because it kind of I feel like it kind of take away the purity and of it, which for me is something very important. Purity not in the sense of like morality, purity from a sense of creativity.
Right.
Yeah. So I took a break also, and also there was a very much a pull factor as well. I was just feel very led to start doing embarking on a different journey of like so I basically lived like a hermit for the first 5 years, from 2008 to maybe 2012 or 2013. And then what happened was, I think I got called by my old friend, local artist Ho Sun to be part of his project called Songs of the Broken Hearted Tiger, which Rizman was part of as well.
Yeah.
Ray Aziz, the drummer, was part of as well. Who else was there? Where's this guy? Oh, my dear friend Dama was there as well. So basically he's part of his series of work about tigers. So when he called me that day, I says, hey, I got. Then he asked me, how you want to help me with this? You want to be part of this? I said, I just bought a new laptop. He says, please use your laptop for my work. So then I started working on some stuff, and then I think Barney did like a sound art kind of exhibition and asked me to be part of it. And then I say, I think I want to do a live performance, because I just don't want to like just gallery stuff. So that was my first performance in 5 years, I think. I just want to hear stuff from the loudspeaker,
Nice.
like rather than from home. So that began, to like start doing stuff, and then 2015 I got really into as I start working on sound, I get more hungry for new sounds. That's when I start doing modular scene and start doing music. But there wasn't like a desire to record any music, because for me, music, I kind of enjoy the transient part of it. I let the audience experience it, and that's it. I kind of miss that sort of quality where something you can't get back to.
Yeah.
So if no one approached me, I will probably never make an album. Like every time it's like a new album, then I forget about it. Like I treat the performance like a new piece of music.
Right.
Yeah. Then until Mark from Ujikaji start to like ask me, I think in 2017, I think. Yeah.
How long was the recording process, like the whole for Smokescreen? 3 years? 2 years?
No, not really. I think but there was like the working process of how to develop like this new working method with my modular synth for this music. Take about a year or I was just experimenting on my own. But the actual recording, I think, take less than maybe 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it was just waiting for it to be released. Yeah.
I think it seems like, because how did it feel actually jumping from like, or like moving away from like whatever that you love with like music and art, and like really just stopping it completely? Was it like an abrupt decision for you to just like stop doing art?
I'm not really, because on the contrary, I think I developed a love for it apart from the doing. I think the doing is sometimes is what distract us from actually the appreciating. Many a times, especially it becomes a full-time job. In fact, my love for it came back. My appreciation for it becomes more in depth because I start to look at it from a perspective of just
Like a listener.
Yeah, just a listener, just to love it, and not like always thinking like, oh, what machine did he use, whose friend is he, who is he contact with, this network and all that. To be honest, I just find like a lot of networking bullshit is like, it just get very tiring. I mean, it's always part of the work, but it just get tiring for if you're be involved in it for too long.
Yeah.
So that develop a kind of a fresh perspective on looking at things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it sounds like a good break for you that was needed lah.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
Yes.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's good. I guess it's hard for people to say that they made the right decision to take a break for like 10 years, which is like a long time, and a lot can happen in like 10 years. Yeah. You never know where your life can like deviate to, and like you can never return to it. But it's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Like us being like younger listeners and younger fans and discovering your music again, and then it's nice that we're able to experience your music live, like having the opportunity and not be like, oh shit, like we missed that part where George Chua was playing.
That time.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an important time for like experimental music in Singapore as well.
Yeah.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
to the Singapore music scene.
Thank you. Sounds very official.
Yeah. But it's a celebration, lah.
Yeah.
It's a celebration.
Thank you, man.
But yeah, I think we'll hear more about the album and more about you in the next few minutes and across the next hour or so. But we're gonna continue with our year-end list.
Yes.
I'll be playing a track from this guy called James Krivchania. And this track is called Idiot Passion from his album A Newfound Relaxation. It's actually self-released, and I found out about it because I think Pitchfork posted a review on it, and then I saw the album art and I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. Like, it looks new agey. I was like, okay, I'll click. Because I still follow Pitchfork, but then like now I only look for like ambient stuff because I kind of want to know what I'm missing out on as well. So when I read it, I was like, oh, I found out that this guy was from the Big Thief, like the indie band Big Thief, and he was the drummer. And I was like, okay, I want to know what this guy who makes like a bit of dreamy, folky music on Big Thief makes. Like how would he create an ambient album and how it will sound like? And I loved it lah. Really, just this was his second record under his name, and it has a lot of liquid textures. It's ambient new agey, but like I would say it's a new age record in 2020. A lot of ASMR sounds. I think he does a lot of like internet sounds. So from what I saw and what I read, that apparently he recorded like 500 fragments of samples, and then he will mess around. So he plug like a pedal into his computer, and like the sound will come out, and then like the sound will just automatically warp. And this is just a collection of the sounds that made the album anyway. I think I have one note about the album, which is I'm very sad about it. I think if you hear it later, there's something, I don't know if it's just me or whether it was intentional, is I think it's the mastering more than the mix that is very like murky and loud for no reason, and it's like a bit. I wish it was cleaner sounding. I don't know if it was intentional, I can't tell, but like, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? I really wish it was remastered, and I hope it's remastered and pressed on vinyl, because I'll get it. But I don't want it to be on, I don't want to buy the vinyl if it's on this master. It's kind of disappointing. But yeah, Jasmine, you want to talk about the track that we're going to play after?
Okay, I'm gonna play Kotin. I've played Kotin before. A big fan.
Yeah, you are a big fan of Kotin.
Yes, I am a very big fan. I guess this still sticks to the whole Kotin sound of like the IDM in like 2000s. Yeah, it sounds. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think a lot of people find it boring because it feels like it's bought of Canada, of British. Yeah, but I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I guess that's it for Quoted. But yeah, let's let the music speak for itself, lah.
Yeah.
So the first track is from James Cruikshank.
So that was Coteen. The first song you listened to was
Idiot
Jinx.
Passion.
okay. So I guess we'll go back to our interview for now.
Yeah.
And this is a question for George. A lot of your musical, is it like your music process, right? Is it improvisational? Improvisational.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the whole for me, even when I was in the process of like just working with beats again, because I started when I first started making music, I actually work a lot with beats, and recently Mark Wong actually got an old copy of the album, and then he sent me the files, and he reminded me of how similar actually Smokescreen is to it after so many years, even though I haven't heard it, because back then I was working with a lot of odd beats and stuff. So when I was kind of coming back to this process again, I was just thinking, should I just kind of have very kind of fixed structure and things like that? But I find what excites me is that things can there's a sense of danger. Things can go wrong, because a lot of times when I listen to music, what I kind of, especially for the last 10 years, when a lot of things are being digitized, and I kind of appreciate like accidents and a sense of danger as well. And so, yeah, most of my stuff are improvised. So what happened is that I kind of create a patch in the modular scene. So I have a sense of where this thing can go, and then I improvise with it. So it's not purely improvisational, as in I work with nothing.
Right.
So there was a patch already, and then I kind of know some of the things that I want to do with this patch, and then I let certain things unfold. And for some gigs, I think I was talking to Daniel quote Uncut Jam Speedos.
Accurate.
I think HQ, you were there at HQ, and HQ was a gig, and there's something actually went a bit wrong.
Right.
Then I took a tangent, and I realized that actually a lot of people like the gig. So I actually appreciate things like that, because there is that's where I feel like the purity is from as well.
Yeah.
The purity comes from the fact that it vibes with me, rather than I trying to produce something just for the people. I'm actually creating music also to question myself, to ask myself why I do certain things, and I'm also looking for truth in the way I do things.
Yeah.
So that becomes part of that process as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think the craft or the art becomes a process of like rediscovery as well for myself.
It's probably more fun for you as well, right, to perform live in that sense, rather than like so structured.
Yeah.
I think a lot of musicians, especially like electronic musicians or like ambient musicians, they kind of get like bored performing live or like the same tracks over and over again, and it's probably a lot more fun to just like explore live with the audience. So I totally get that, and I wish I knew how to play music so that I can feel
go
it.
learn.
It's just too much investment. But yeah, you want to follow up with
The second question.
Yeah.
So what was your headspace like when you were recording your album in particular?
Okay, I think during that period of time, I was thinking a lot about how in today's world especially, I think it's never just about the thing. It's always about the thing behind the thing.
Okay.
That's when I start thinking about Smokescreen, how things are not as what it seems. Like no one just look at something as it is, which is actually pretty sad, but there's always not just about the thing, but the thing behind the thing.
Right.
And almost like everything got some sort of hidden agenda. So it's with this sort of like some questions about that. And then it relate to my work also and in church as well, not as a criticism about it or anything, or just as a personal observation as well. It happened in all strata of society. That sometimes it's not just about the thing; it's always about the thing behind the thing.
Yeah.
So it's with this headspace that I kind of think about the music, that I was doing for that period of recording.
Right.
But the actual recording process is just silly sometimes, because I go to my friend's house, basically Evan, who has been friends with me for close to 30 years. So it's just a lot of laughter and and then sometimes he'll comment on what he thinks about this, but he tends to be a more structured person.
Right.
So I value his he sometimes he will point certain things out about things that are too chaotic or. So I kind of appreciate that tension as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're recording with Evan, is it you exploring in front of him as well, like as if you're playing a live set to him?
Yeah, correct.
Nice.
So there's a sense of like, hey, I don't know what Evan would think, like, not that you're trying to like make him happy or what,
Yeah.
but you feel like, hey, you're actually performing to the audience as well. So I'm improvising with him.
Nice.
So the whole recording of the album, there wasn't actually any post editing except for the length. So it's just like, okay,
Right.
improvise, record a couple of takes, and then see what happens later.
Right. So in a sense, Evan is kind of like the executive producer of the album.
Not exactly. He's just the trickster, the corner. Maybe,
Okay.
pouring you another beer as you improvise.
Important. You need that person while
Melvin
recording.
man at the side.
Like you want another beer, man. So maybe I guess maybe just to give people an introduction to Smokescreen, which is an incredible album. If you had to choose one track from Smokescreen, I mean, you told us beforehand that it was the first track of the album, but maybe you can explain more about why you decided to choose Desert Screen as like the track.
I guess for people who haven't heard the music before, that's the way I arrange it. So I arrange it as the first track. Hence, I think it's just most reasonable. to just let people listen to the first track if they haven't heard the music before.
Right, that's fair. That's really fair.
So I particularly like that track because the title is a book from Paul Virilio, a French writer, philosopher, and basically talking a lot about the whole book Desert Screen. It was kind of like about the war, I think the Iran war, the Gulf War, kind of how media was like interfering with that and things like that.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Maybe, do you want to explain what the next track that you also picked another track from Dale Cornish as part of the 4 tracks that we asked you to pick. You want to share why?
Okay. Dale Cornish is like the guy that a lot of electronic musicians listen to when they're taking a break. I just assume that.
Okay.
Because I realized that a lot of these people follow him. A lot of people are his friends. There's more well-known. Basically, his music is very bare and stripped down. So that whole series of albums, like a couple of albums that he did, was just basically like a drum machine track, a stripped down track, a rhythm, and lots of space and silence in between.
Yeah.
And to explore that.
Yeah.
And I find him very interesting because the kind of musician I like sometimes are people who look at music from a perspective of art. So there's like his recent album is called Ambient. So there's a humor as well.
Right.
There's a humor that's like almost like a critique on the whole rave culture as well, because he's part of the dance music scene, but yet also he's very much part of it as well. And sometimes musician with a kind of like looking at things from a artist point of view is interesting. I mean, the most famous one being David Bowie.
Yeah.
Every album is kind of different, but for Dale Cornish, mainly his album is revolves around like electronic music and kind of like a stripped down version of it.
Right.
So I thought it's pretty interesting way of kind of looking at spaces between sounds and rhythm.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I think when you send me the track, I'm gonna look it up, and I love it. Like it's I think you described it well. It's a lot of rhythm and space, super like bare and raw. And like it reminds me of a lot of like Mark Fell and like all SND and all these people. And then I was telling you that it sounds like later you hear it actually. It sounds like our upcoming release on Lifting Chants. Wow. But yeah, which will soon, I hope, maybe next year. But then yeah, this is like kind of like it's a great track. And I guess if you guys are interested in, I don't know if you all are, but like if you're interested in finding out how the next album is gonna sound like, I guess it's along this path as well. So pretty apt. So but first, more importantly, let's listen to the first track from George Chua's amazing album, Smokescreen. All right. What you're hearing now actually in the background is a track called "Mimic Animals That Are Easy to Love." It's an excerpt from this producer called Clemency, and it is actually from her debut album. And she's based in Manchester, and I love it because it's kind of primal sounding. I don't know if I'll consider this as dance music, but I would dance to this. It's pretty nice and primitive and a lot of organic percussive sounds. There's this track that she uses tabla sounds, which I love as well. What's interesting about it? So this album is called References. And so she has a website that shows all her references that she did while recording this album. And then what was interesting is that she broke it down into categories from fiction books to non-fiction books, and more specifically she broke it down to cosmetics.
Yeah.
So she was she was inspired by her Aesop soap and her MAC cosmetics, makeup and stuff. And I was like, okay, nice. And then the best part is that she referenced some TV shows, and one of it was Big Brother. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
I guess we should just watch more Big Brother to make music like this. But anyway, I think one thing we need to note is that just now the first track you played was not George's track. Sorry, it was a mistake. It was a technical mistake. So we had to play Dale Cornish. But then the second track was actually Desert Screen from George Chua's album Smokescreen. So now going back to yeah.
Okay, so back to the interview. But this is with Nigel and myself. Okay, so I guess this is the end of our podcast for this year. What are our plans for next year, Nigel?
I think we mentioned this a few times, but maybe I think we have a clearer picture of what's really happening next year. Unfortunately, I think one of the albums that was due by this year, I don't think it's going to make it by this year because we just needed more time to plan and everything. We want to get it out right, and then hopefully it'll be out by before February, or by February actually, and then we have another ambient album coming out. We have 3 albums really lined up for the first half of the year, which is exciting, and we have a few others in store. I've been contacting people actually on SoundCloud and stuff, but I haven't told you yet because I don't want to give false hope. But so far so good. I found this really cool ambient. I'm going to share with you later actually.
Okay.
Yeah, this super cool ambient. And then I was like, oh, I'm very interested in your sound. And this person only has a 1 minute track on SoundCloud. That's the only track that they have.
Really?
And I was like, I want to hear more.
Yeah.
I want to hear more from you.
Is that impressive?
Yeah, it's a bit
God.
it's very different. And then I contacted him or her or they on SoundCloud, and then I was like, hey, I run this record label called Evening Chants, and he was like, oh, I've actually heard of your label because of Mayday, and I'm like, dude, thanks Mayday for always being the anchor to the label. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
But yeah, going back to George, how about you? Do you have anything exciting planned next year?
I typically don't plan. I live a very hermit kind of life. In fact, I think this year I come up the most in a strange way. Not to say during circuit breaker I go around partying or whatnot, but I was obviously hold out at home. But actually this year I end up meeting more people after the circuit breaker and hanging out with people. And also taking a break, a few months break, as a sabbatical from my work as well. And so I don't really plan, but I think what I want to do is I want to make more albums.
Nice, yes.
I just want to make more music, not exactly albums.
Yeah.
I just want to make more music. I think so. Next year I'll be making more music.
Yes, please, and we would love to work with you. Hopefully, if it happens. But yes, let's work together if it happens. Not putting it out there, just yeah. So, but back to you and your music. Your ambient. So I found out about you. More specifically, when I was looking through Anomia and everything, your music. When I saw actually not really through Anomia. I mean, I really knew who you were. So when I go your Bandcamp and I came across your album, it was reissued by Anomia.
Yeah.
That you actually released in 2006. But then the album was reissued by them in 2018.
Yep.
So I just wanted to know, how did it feel? How did this happen in the first place? And how did it feel getting an album from 2006 reissued to a whole new audience, maybe a younger audience as well in 2018, 12 years later?
It was really, really surprising because it was really... I found out how difficult it is to contact me because I basically just after I stopped being just doing music and art full time, I took down my website and things like that, and so it was really a big surprise for me, and that gesture kind of reignite my faith in just making good music because I'm not a guy who really network or try to send my things out, put myself out there, and I just like what I do and just enjoy people who are devoted to what they do as well. So I love people who just, are passionate about what they do. And but when LXV, actually this guy called LX, his work.
His name is LXV.
LXV is his music project. So his
Okay.
name is David. So David says like in a 2000 odd, there's a period of time I kind of give away the MP3 file. I couldn't really remember that. He says that he found me on MySpace and that music really inspired him. So he asked his friend, that Spain label from Anomia, basically, to release the album. And so he worked with them, and then he was looking for me, and he said he can't find me, he searched the internet and all that. And then he asked, basically Rick's connected. Rick said, why not you try following him on Instagram? It's a private account. And then you see whether he accepts you, and then you try to talk to him.
Oh my God.
Or something like that, And then because I saw LXV and then I checked out his music, pretty interesting, so I accepted him. So I was
Must go through a process.
I was a bit judgy, I can't help it, but I because I kind of tend to be a bit private as well,
for sure.
I just my Instagram is just for me to keep in touch with some of my friends and all that.
Yeah.
Just to kind of know what's happening in their life and things like that, and just share news and music and things like that. And so when he told me that he heard this music all the way in America, and then he really enjoyed it, and he's been big inspiration for his own music as well. And then he says so I said, okay, let's do it, and so quite happy that that truly, like the album title, Evidence of Things Not Seen, there's like things that are undercurrent and suddenly it just pop out again. I thought it was completely dead. I totally don't remember. I don't even have sound files for the album because I'm so bad at archiving my own work. And so basically we had to hunt down the sound files again and then they put it out. And so we're quite happy with that, like the kind of reignite my faith and just making things that are interesting. Yeah.
How was the response for it? Do you get all these new audiences, new fans and everything?
I won't say fans, but I do get various people just kind of like contacted me and over Bandcamp, and then I was surprised that people actually buy so much music over Bandcamp. So
They do.
I was actually surprised. I mean, maybe not so much Singaporeans, but a lot of Europeans.
Yeah.
And like Americans, and I think some of the Singaporeans that buy a lot of Bandcamp music, I think will be this guy over there.
Dude, definitely. Always appear in my email. Daniel Peters just bought something.
Peters. But typically, our local guys don't really buy music off Bandcamp. I mean, even I myself, I tend to buy vinyls or physical copies, but I don't buy music off Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting kind of like a cultural exposure.
Nice. I think like I was just listening to some snippets of that album like this afternoon, when I was doing some like planning for the podcast as well today, and like just listening to it, it's actually pretty incredible that you did it in 2006. It's like I should have played a song from the album actually, but anyway, we'll play in one of our other sessions. But it's I think it was quite forward. Like now, I feel like whatever that was in 2006, that album, right, is whatever that is whatever ambient is whatever that is ambient now. You know what I mean? Like whatever that sounds like the West Mineral, like the Hueco Airs thing, you did it in 2006. So I think Anomia did a really good job in like resurfacing this album. So like good job. I think you need to give more credit to yourself what you did in 2006. Like you actually do need to give yourself more credit.
Okay.
Yeah, and please save your files next time. Like please save your files. Yeah. And like I hope Anomia or like you or like someone does a vinyl edition of their record. Like it needs to happen, and we would love to do it if it happens.
Hustling non-stop.
If we can find the WAV files.
You don't have it? Is it just the
can't-
MP3s? Is it?
I don't know actually. I don't know whether they found the WAV files or what.
Okay.
Just the crazy thing, about my life. I'm always like I don't archive my things, just
Yeah, it needs to.
just a bad habit.
But hey, it worked out. Like you're here today, and like we're revisiting all your old music. So the internet is pretty amazing. But yeah, Justin. So you wanna share about the next track that you're picking?
My next choice. Okay, my next choice, I'm gonna play. Okay, so he didn't release it this year, but they re-released like all his older stuff, which is Osamu Sato. So this is the guy. If you know him, he made the LSD Dreams emulator.
I have no idea.
For the like very long ago, right? Yeah, something in like 1980s.
Wait, what is it? What's that?
So it was for the PlayStation. It's just basically a game.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then you just go through, and then it's just like very pixelated graphics. It's very nice now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I went to watch like gameplay and stuff.
So this musician did the game.
Yeah, so he did the game, but he also does a lot of music. He's a visual artist. He's still doing this, and basically they released this. It's called Collected Ambient Grooves, 1993 to 2001.
Okay.
For his 60th birthday.
Nice.
So happy birthday, and yeah, like I think game soundtracks are pretty like. I like game soundtracks a lot. I think they give a lot of weight to the feeling and like,
For sure.
yeah, as you go telling like a story, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, but what's after?
Oh, after is my pick. I would say this is probably top 3 album of the year for me. It's by
Yeah.
Oh Kyung Lee. This album called Instart. Sorry, the album's called Yonoin. Anyway, she's a South Korean cellist. I think she's been around the experimental scene for quite a while. Do you know Oh Kyung Lee?
Yeah, I know about her music.
Yeah, so
I
like
like her stuff.
Yeah, like amazing, especially this solo album and everything. And then like, I didn't know much about her before this album, and then I went to like look at like research her, and I saw that the more musicians that she has collaborated with, like I'm just gonna name some of the few like Aka, Laurie Anderson, Mark Fell, Thurston Moore, Jim O'Rourke, Swans, and like all these people. You know, it's pretty an amazing rap like CV if you can say, but like yeah, and really this album is just I don't know, it's the way she uses the cello is not what we are used to, but it's great. Like it's so basically the album was recorded by an experimental chamber ensemble, and it was led by Oh Kyung Lee, and the chamber ensemble is the album name itself, which is Yeon. And then I found out that it actually translates to the gesture of an opening. Like that's what it means, the album. So basically this album traces her roots over the last 30 years of her life, being like learning cello when she was like young, you know, to her moving to Boston and to New York, and I think this album is really like a journal of her life, and like it's an autobiography, and it was released on Shelter Press, of course, an amazing label run by Felicia Atkinson. So yeah, and then I guess we're playing George's track, which I think I'll let George speak about it later on after we play the track. So yeah, the first track is Jasmine.
I'm in a rock and roll session, and I'm waiting for Michael, who's not here. Brand new Cadillac, gross module, Sweat. Do you remember? It was 1959, the observatory. What a strange story. Rock and roll session is a session where we can do what we want to do. Sweat. Gross module. Jack's bicycle is music. Gross module. Sweat. Everything is possible. 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 Rock and roll station is a second pirate session of a strange wax. Gross module. Listening. Listening. Listening to an outlaw rock and roll session. Outlaw. Outlaw. I'm in a rock and roll session and I'm waiting for Michael, who's not here. Brand new Cadillac. Do you remember? It was 1959, the observatory. What a strange story. Rock and roll station is a station where we can do what we want to do. Sweat. Jack's bicycle is music to my ears. Everything is possible. 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 Rock and roll session is a second pirate session of a strange wax. Gross module. Listening. Listening to a rock and roll session is to be. Is to be. Rock and roll session is a second pirate session of a strange wax. Listening to the rock and roll session. Outlaw. 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 I'm in a gross module and I'm waiting for a rock and roll session. Sweat. Who? He's not here. It was 1959. The observatory. I'm in a rock and roll session and I'm waiting for a gross module. A rock and roll session is a session where we can do what we want to do. But hang on. Jack's bicycle. Do you remember? I'm in a rock and roll session and I'm waiting for Michael. Who? He's not here. Brand new Cadillac. 1959. The observatory. The strange story. Everything is possible. Possible. A rock and roll session is a second pirate session of a strange wax. But I'm listening to a rock and roll session. Outlaw. Outlaw. I'm in a gross module and I'm waiting for Michael. Who? He's not here. 1959. The observatory. What a strange story. Jack's bicycle is music. Everything is possible. Possible. A rock and roll session is a session where we can do what we want to do. But hang on, Jack's bicycle. Do you remember? Russell had already invented his noisy organ.
So what we just heard is George's pick, which is a track from Nurse with Wound. Maybe George, you want to share about your relationship with Nurse with Wound?
Okay, I think Nurse with Wound also belong to that category of kind of a visionary artist, musician, and like every album is different, you know. And so the one I picked was Rock and Roll Station, which is the most un-rock and roll album, you know. But maybe that's why it's so rock and roll, because it's like just sample of this guy talking from the 50s or 60s, and then like beats. And it was introduced by my friend Harold, I think in the 90s, you know. He said he raved about this album all the time, you know. So shout out to Harold Sia.
Dude, shout out Harold Sia,
or maybe there's a camera, yeah. Hi. And when I first heard this album, I don't quite understand it, because I like the previous Nurse with Wound stuff, which is kind of like kind of weird and all that. His vibe is more like surrealist. So he and all his song titles are a bit strange and kind of surreal and like Dada and and that stuff, you know, and so when I first heard it, I don't quite understand this music, you know, because it sounds like a bit boring, you know. Harold introduced me to this boring shit, you know, but when I after I listened to it a few times, one day I just get it, you know. One day I just play it on a bass or something, and then I'm like, wow, this thing is gonna, man. Yeah. Like, because what he's trying to do, he's brought his noise way low below, you know. He put all these repetitive beats, but all his cures is way below, you know. And then he kind of control it way below. So then there's another layer below. So it's again the thing behind the thing, you know.
Right.
You know, really, really great album. Yeah, I love this album. And this year, I think this year it was reissued. So when Harold kind of asked who want to reorder, I want to order it again. And then he ordered a copy for me. So thanks to Harold. Shout out again. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Harold, man, shout out to Harold, and for you know, like being like introducing music to all the veterans who are here right now. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with Nurse with Wound. I mean, obviously they're like one of the industrial like greats and everything, and I've always heard about them. Do you feel like Nurse with Wound is probably one of your greatest inspirations in terms of music right now? Or?
I won't say greatest because I listen to so much music. You know, it could easily be some indie rock somewhere that also kind of inspire me as well. You know, because it's part of your life, you can't really kind of compartmentalize. Sure. But I think Nurse with Wound for me, right, is the time when I started exploring experimental music. And back then, right, all the experimental guys, at least those I listened to from UK, like Coy, Nurse with Wounds, Current 93, they're called the England Hidden Rivers. They kind of took very huge artistic leap with their albums and their exploration. And I kind of had this sense of like experimental musicians tend to take huge leaps. So I come from the generation whereby they could make an album like that and then the next album is just totally different. But I think it's pretty rare these days, you know.
It is.
Yeah, people take huge leaps like that. Yeah. So I guess that maybe is part of the inspiration or that's the influence as well. Right. On the way I look at experimental music.
Right. Yeah. I think talking about inspiration and everything. When I was reading your interview with Analog Vault on Smokescreen and everything, you mentioned, and also you also mentioned just now about Paul Virilio and you being the album being inspired by his writings and everything. And when I've had a conversation with you last year, it seemed like you're the kind of guy who reads a lot. And what's your relationship like with like books and like how does it play into your music creation?
Yeah, I will take certain period of time and read a lot, then I'll stop reading for like half a year. Then I have like binge. Right. You know, people binge on Netflix, I binge on books.
Nice.
So there's a period of like binge and then I will just like get really tired and like with my obsession and I just stop for like maybe a few months. So certain period of time I'll read a lot, and I think Paul is just Virilio is just one of those guys that there's a period of time I read a lot on his work as well. And so in terms of reading, I think it's just about kind of gathering thoughts and allowing your thoughts to be challenged as well by words and also by different critical thinking and understanding the world in different lenses, and maybe gain a bit more understanding about the larger scheme of things, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just basically curiosity, I think.
Right.
Deep curiosity about just want to leave no stones unturned kind of vibe, which is pretty. Sometimes it gets too much lah.
Yeah.
So I kind of cut back a lot. You know, it's just a bit of an info junkie, a bit of like just nerd out on like kind of everything I can find my hands on, put my hands on, you know.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword kind of thing, lah.
Yeah.
Like, the more you dig, the more you're like killing yourself also at the same time.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious about is actually like how do you translate like your what you learn or like what you gain, the information you gain from reading into your music creation? Do you feel like there's a connection there between reading and music?
I think the reading part comes in right when I start to have to use language, because I think what is beautiful about music is that it takes you to a space whereby it takes you to the age of thinking and words. Thinking and words kind of frame you in a certain way, but when you listen to music, it takes you to the age and go beyond. Especially now we are listening to music without any words and instrumentals, you know, ambient music or whatever, you know, improvisations and it's only when I need to title the album or I need to get into a frame of mind of images, then these things come out. But I like the pure space in music whereby it can do without words. Yeah, so I think when it comes to titling, then some of these influence have to come in, because these are the words that is hovering in my mind or at the back end of my thoughts process. But when I'm making the music, it almost feels like a space whereby nothing exists except the music.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think there's a quite interesting relationship about using books in your reading to put you into a headspace and also kind of like shape or how do you say it? Like frame your music like at the end of the day and everything and see what works. I mean, speaking about reading, Jasmine, do you read? What's your relationship with reading?
Okay, so this year I always would like to read. I think it takes a lot of time to read also. So I try to do like 30 minutes.
Right.
I try lah, but I don't. It takes me a while to finish a book actually. Yeah. Unless like I'm obsessed with it, right? Then like I would just like finish it like very very quickly.
Right.
And yeah.
What kind of books do you read? Do you have a specific genre or kind of like the genre of books?
Do I
you
have a
enjoy?
specific genre? I like mystery books.
Okay.
But then actually I just go by friends' recommendation just because I trust their taste. And now I just go. I'm quite free and easy with. I don't like reading like very heavy books, as in like with a lot of fancy words, with a lot of like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too much brain power like needed, right?
I wouldn't say it's like brain power. It's almost like obsessively like flowery, you
Right.
know. And then it's just like, what is the point, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, like for me, it's like I like easy reading,
Right.
and like I think it's still good to have like like with books or with music, with anything. Like it's always nice to just take something back to you, and I think that's very nice. Like you always get like a slice of different types of thinking and. Yeah. It helps you grow as a person.
Yeah, I wish I was as disciplined as you when it comes to like 30 minutes. How
No, I'm not disciplined.
how much of the week do you read? Like, would you think, or like, I mean, to even just like have that routine that you want to do is like pretty impressive. Really, I just can't even do that. Like, that's not even in my arsenal at all. Like, 30 minutes of my time to like read is so difficult. Yeah, I don't know. But at least
Actually,
for me, yeah.
I think maybe like find a book that is for you. So like
Yeah.
start with like those, and then like you can slowly grow.
Yeah, I think now like I'm reading. So like now I'm reading like a modern film book that George actually recommended last year, and then I finally got into reading it. And I mean, like, I guess it's like I'm really enjoying it, but it's hard for me to like read more than like 20 pages at a time, and just like I just cannot, like, after a while, I just like I get so distracted. I just want to whip out my phone, and I hate it. I used to be really into reading when I was in secondary school, and now I just lost that habit. But I really hope that I'm able to get it back. So I'll try your 30 minutes. It's not happening.
Actually,
but
I
I'll try
read on
30 minutes
like,
a
my
week.
phone though.
Sorry.
I read on my phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, how is that good?
So-
like.
I don't know. So I use the iPhone app, the books one lah.
Yep.
I like it
I
because
use that as well,
the
sometimes.
words are big. You know, it's easy to flip,
Yes.
and then the next thing you know, you're just like, and then you just
It's like scrolling. It's as good as like
It's not even
scrolling through.
scrolling. So you just like press.
Flip.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, very easy to use. I don't know lah.
So now that you have your iPad, do you think that you're gonna read a lot more?
I just got an iPad.
Yeah. Justin's very proud of her iPad.
That's one of the things lah. Yeah, I actually thought so. Like I was like, oh, you know, it's like a Kindle but iPad. You know.
It's a aesthetic Kindle lah.
No,
Actually,
no.
Kindle's quite aesthetic as well lah.
Yeah, I hope to read more actually with the iPad.
Right.
It's like in one of like I was like selling the iPad to my friend. Like, you can draw, you can read books. Yeah.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay.
Make sure you read like 10 books next year. Okay. And then you give me the summary of all the 10 books next year. Okay, so anyway, like, we've come to almost the end of the podcast. We still have like 3 more songs left, but thanks so much, George, for joining us today. Please go and check out his album Smokescreen. It's an incredible album. It's actually definitely one of my top 10 albums of the year. And just go and revisit all of George's work. His album that was reissued by Adomia. Maybe that's a good start, and then you can go and visit Smokescreen after that, or you can do whatever you want. Just go and listen to his music. And yeah, George, do you have any parting words?
I really appreciate you guys for having me here, and really kind of exciting as well to see people who are devoted to what they are doing, like you guys with the label and the design and the curation of that, all the different artists,
Thanks.
because basically I think what the art scene really needs is not a lot of complicated like concept and all that. It's just people who are devoted to their passion, and that's what makes it exciting. Yeah, and beautiful as well. Yeah, so thank you for what you're doing as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for even like doing all of this. Not just like coming to this podcast, but even like being so accepting and like getting like playing our show last year. That's crazy.
Oh, I think that was really.
I loved it.
Really an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, like I like after the show, I was like, dude, like I think I told you this or something. I told my friends, I don't know who I told. That like your set was like you're trying to summon some like but like it's like you're trying to summon like a demon, like some monster from your modular scene, because it was just like it was like super minimal, right? But then the sounds are so like it's so like dark and like the monster is like trying to come out. That's why I felt really like I just felt like this monster was trying, the spirit was getting out from your modular synth. It's amazing. So I really
don't know what I do.
So funny.
I don't know what happened that night, man. So it might have been the candles or something. I don't know.
Yeah, your candles definitely play a part. Yeah. But definitely, you know, what you described isn't too far away. You know, I mean, there was a sense of, I don't know why, somehow when I improvise, somehow there's a sense of like horror about it.
Yeah.
I think it's about, at least in my head space, at that space, it feels like it's about confronting the giants, confronting the horror.
Yeah.
Almost like an innocent child confronting that all that craziness.
Yeah.
And kind of drive it away by the fear magic of it of its own innocence.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Something like that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think I know. I totally get it for sure, and the music really shows for it. And you know, speaking of live music, I really hope. So I mean, you have something with NTUCCA coming out. Do you want to share a bit about it? Or?
Basically, it's just a series of videos that I work with filmmaker Russell Morton and under the curation of this curator called Chong Kakit. So it's a series of work by 3 different artists on body and so my work revolves around this theme of this group of this dance troupe called 7-Legged Spider Dance Troupe. So check it out. Look out for it. You know, I think it should be up 2nd December onwards, and people can look for it.
Yeah, I guess you can just Google like NTUCCA George Chua or something.
Yeah,
and it'll pop up.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to give a special shout out to like Mark from Uji Kaji as well for even like putting out this album, like George's album, and just being Uji Kaji.
Yeah.
Like, thank you so much for paving the way for Singapore experimental music, and we would love to. Yeah, like we have to have like Mark.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have to have Mark on the podcast, and then just hear him talk. Like really, Jasmine, anything you want to add on before we end this 2020 episode?
I hope next year will be better and will be better than before.
Yeah, I hope it will be better as well. And then look out for our releases. I guess you'll be hearing from us in January, and you'll get an update of our releases. But we're really excited about what we have in store. Thanks so much for joining us for the 4 episodes. Thank you so much, Singapore Community Radio, for having us in the first place and getting us to do this. We really appreciate it. So we have 3 more songs for you. Maybe you can briefly run through about the songs, like really quick. Yeah,
Okay.
do you want to talk about yours?
Okay, the next song I will play like Serimosa. And then this guy, I found him from Nicholas Jazz, like record label,
Right.
other people. Yeah, I did like it a lot. I actually got very hooked on by the design.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I listened to it, it was like, wow, shit.
Nice. I actually haven't heard much from his label, but I guess this is like an introduction.
Yeah, so he's apparently he's from like Beirut underground scene for quite a long time already.
Right.
Yeah, and then like he came out this year and
Oh, this is his debut album. Okay, nice. Yeah. And then at least for me, I picked this track called Tenderly by Claire Rose. She's like a field recordist, sound artist from Texas, and she explores like ASMR sound. I think she's really up and coming, and she does a lot of stuff on Bandcamp as well. She has a great community. She kind of does a lot of things like David Toop, but more like millennial, like I guess it's a way. She does a lot of like shortwave radio, a lot of like. She made a lot of great albums this year. So like I think like 4 EPs, all are great. And then the last one is by George, which we're ending off by Robert Ashley. Do you want to talk a bit about that track?
Oh yeah, Robert Ashley. I nearly forgotten.
Yeah.
Robert Ashley, right? Basically, shout out to Ujikaji. Basically,
For sure.
I mean, their mail order is pretty cool. So Mark Grant just so I shop a bit through Mark as well. You know, it's just so I like this album for quite a long time, and the vinyl was available, and so this year I got it. It's like I was just telling you guys earlier, it's like the ultimate ASMR, pioneering ASMR. I don't know what this term ASMR was until like maybe last year when I check out this YouTube channel of this guy, this England mystic called John Butler. Basically, he talked in such a soothing voice, and like just an old man, people who were just interviewing him about his experiences and all that. And then a lot of comments, ASMR. I go and search it out. So anyway, Robert Ashley is from the 70s, like a electronic composer. This really interesting track. I would let people listen to it for what it is. It's really sparse, so probably you will just kind of tune out after a while, go to sleep, and it's totally fine. It's quite soothing, and there's a conceptual backbone to it as well. I won't elaborate too much on it. But interestingly, the sound is like, there's parts of the sound that sounds like someone is playing a piece of music in another room.
Right.
And you know that feeling? And it's another kind of way of understanding ambient as well, where someone is playing a piece of music that you're familiar, but it's so far away and soft.
Yeah.
It sounds so otherworldly as well. And so there's this dynamics, and then there's this voices, his own voice, and I think another girl, another lady speaking. And I think I just love this piece of music. It's really one unique recording. It is a long piece, so we're just going to listen to an extract.
Yeah. For sure. I think you sold the album of Robert Ashley really great. And, it's perfect for this podcast. I hope all of y'all fall asleep to Robert Ashley's music, which is probably meant to be... you're supposed to do whatever. But okay, yes. Thanks so much. And this is the end of our 2020 episode. Thanks so much, George. Thanks, SGCR.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Those subjects just swear silently. The bond comes to us. Brother, confess. We'll start to exchange secrets. The painted drops don't actually move, but words will be. Tell more about their feelings. Machines must find the common language. The language of emotions. Ce sentiment. Ah, je vois, oui. Oui, ah, je vois. Toujours mentir. Les mensonges intégrés dans l'acte. Oui. Oui, très drôle. Très drôle. Très drôle. Très drôle. Vas-y, laisse-toi aller. Alors je sais presque C'était là, c'était le sorcier. T'es malade. Messieurs et mesdames. Je me demande si on pourrait mettre un peu de tambour avec. Mais tu ne l'as pas fait. Tu ne l'as pas fait. Tu ne l'as pas fait. C'est peut-être tout ce qu'il y a. Oui. Et bien là, mon esprit censure mon propre esprit. Vous autres, vous êtes tous. Allez, Bob. Mélanie. Comment la cacher? Dis donc, t'as vraiment peur. Ah, je vois ce que tu fais. Je vois. Ok. Ok. Mon esprit censure mon propre esprit. Mon esprit censure mon propre esprit. Toujours le même problème. On pourrait peut-être le faire encore un coup. Qu'est-ce que tu essaies de cacher? Qu'est-ce que tu caches? Qu'est-ce que tu caches, mon Dieu? Être jour, on peut toujours le refaire. C'est étonnant, bien sûr. Soit ajouter un peu de tambour. Commence à aller bien. Essayons ça. Pas trop mal. Foutrement malin.
composer you guys well. 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 Guys well. Mon esprit regarde mon propre esprit.